iHeart smart speaker and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Sports and politics and sports and politics and sports and politics and intersection. Arrogance and ignorance. Arrogance, ignorance, and arrogance and ignorance. Intersection.
Speaking of the intersection of arrogance and ignorance, a lot of accidents at that intersection. Crashing into each other, the LA Dodgers and the Sisters of the Perpetual Indulgence.
What? Okay, I can't wait to hear this story.
Sisters of the Perpetual Indulgence that were invited to the LA Dodgers annual Pride Night. Together we'll continue to knock down barriers and foster an atmosphere of acceptance for all, said LA Dodgers exec Eric Braverman. Well, the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence are not sisters at all. They're men dressed up as nuns that look like Kiss, that are meant to mock Catholics. This is like nun cosplay, is what this is. Members of the group go by names like Sister Jezebel of the Enraptured Sling, Sister Shalita Corndog. At Easter, they host Foxy Mary and Hunky Jesus contests.
And they're wearing the habit. I mean, this is disgusting. This is sacrilegious.
Matt Hennessy has a good piece on this in the Wall Street Journal entitled, "These Aren't Tommy Lasorda's Dodgers." He writes, most Americans are happy to live and let live. The Sisters of the Perpetual Indulgence have their agenda in a free country. That's all fine and good. But why do the Dodgers need to let Sister Taint a Virgin prance around the bases looking like a flabby Kirk Gibson in habit and cornet? Everyone is already welcome at the ballpark. It feels un-American to force-feed culture war politics alongside the Peanuts and Cracker Jack. The O'Malley family owned the Dodgers from 1947 to 97. They were known for doing things the Dodger way. That meant professionalism and class, on and off the field. Vin Scully, the team's longtime radio announcer, personified the Dodger way. Devout Catholic, Vin Scully. So did Jackie Robinson, Duke Snyder, Gil Hodges, Sandy Koufax, Steve Garvey, Oral Horsheiser, Mike Piazza, Andre Ethier, and Tommy Lasorda. The Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence are not classy. They're obnoxious and gross. They don't belong in the Dodger lineup. I guess we're going to have to recast that phrase as American and as baseball and apple pie. We're going to have to strike baseball from that now, aren't we? For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by Brian Burch, who is the president at Catholic Vote, catholicvote.org. Brian, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Well, you got another day, another anti-Catholic stunt. So good to be back with you, Dan, to talk about the latest.
So the LA Dodgers invited these gross and obnoxious, to borrow from Matthew Hennessy, people to their Pride Night. Then they rescinded the invitation, and then they re-invited them. So what's happening with the Dodgers?
Yeah, well, it's important. It's not just an invitation. They're going to award and honor this organization. So they're holding this group out as someone that apparently that the Los Angeles community should be, esteemed. So you're right. The Dodgers first announced Pride Night, June 16th. They're going to honor all these organizations. We expressed our opposition to this. We called on Catholics everywhere to oppose it. We flooded their phone lines, shut down their phone lines. We had people inside of Major League Baseball and the Dodgers organization, by the way, who agreed with us that were providing us information. And a couple days later, the left-wing groups got to them. Of course, the NAACP, all the LGBT groups said, if you don't honor this anti-Catholic, vile, blasphemous, bigoted group, we will pull out entirely of your LGBT celebration. And so the Dodgers caved. They have now become, as I've described them, the Bud Light of baseball, where woke corporations decide that, at least in this case, presumably, half or more of their fan base are unworthy of respect or at least decency. 30% of Los Angeles is Catholic, many of them Hispanic Catholics who hold the Virgin Mary in some esteem and certainly wouldn't appreciate what the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence do by mocking Our Lady and dressing her up in drag and gyrating on the crucifix and how holding condom masses. I mean, the list goes on. The things this group has engaged in, they've defiled the Eucharist, used it in a sexual stunt. So again, as you said, let's play baseball, not politics.
Well, how large is this group? I mean, what were you talking? A dozen people?
Right. Well, the group's about 40 years old. They started in Iowa and then, of course, migrated to San Francisco. And I did look at their tax returns just the other day, and they've been celebrated for raising millions of dollars for so-called, charities. Well, this is approximately $1 million over 40 years. The most recent tax return that I saw, they raised $20,000. So this organization is a front group. It's a bunch of transvestite men that like to dress up as Catholic nuns and engage in, sacrilegious sexual stunts. And the Dodgers decide this is the group we're going to honor and award. So this is an unserious group whose whole purpose is to mock Catholics, and it's just preposterous. The Dodgers have decided that this is the group that they're going to honor.
To play devil's advocate a bit, if the Dodgers want to go full Bud Light, as you say, then why not let them? If that's who the Dodgers are, then why not let them be transparent about who they are and let the fans make the ultimate decision on the Dodgers?
Well, I think this is the question that a lot of corporations are going to start facing. Bud Light, Anheuser-Busch is certainly facing it. Target is the latest example. According to reports overnight, Target's now pulling some of the children's clothing that they had put on the racks that were designed to, push this crazy cross-dressing stuff that now a lot of mothers of children don't appreciate that shop at Target. Now we have a baseball team, and we're heading into June where, Dan, you and I know this is not going to be the only big corporation that's trying to strut their, LGBT credentials. And so this is the question, and I think you're starting to see pushback, and I think it's going to grow, and it's going to be one of these political questions I think is going to be big over this coming presidential cycle is, in what way has the left overreached, especially when it comes to a lot of the gay rights stuff, but also with respect to our corporations and all of our institutions becoming so politicized. Where we've lost our way, where everything now needs to be a political, propaganda campaign, where we're, no longer worried about shareholder values, where we've got stakeholder values. We've now weaponized not just, our government, but now weaponizing our corporations against everyday Americans.
Well, I think it's more, it's generally that is a big question, and there's some texture to it, but specifically the thing that is interesting to me, these Pride nights in particular, you've seen hockey players refuse to wear the Pride night the novelty jerseys, and then because they're devout Christians, they don't agree, and so then they get excoriated as some kind of bigot and so forth. We saw that happen a couple times during this past hockey season. But it's like the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. It's the drag shows in schools. This to me is something like qualitatively different. These scenes that are ripped from the pages of a Gore Vidal novel, that just are opposed, like viscerally opposed by a majority of Americans, and yet they're pushed upon people anyway. It's push politics, some sloganeering or some candidate or some referendum question, but this presentation of Gomorrah that we're supposed to celebrate, that's the thing I think is that's something that's qualitatively different, and I think it needs to be focused upon.
Well, I think it's a great point, because you're right. This isn't the Dodgers saying, everyone recycle your beer cups after the game.
Yeah, right.
Care about the climate. Right. We're going to hold this group, as we described, in esteem and honor and award them because of their grotesque, and vile behavior. And in some ways, this is bigger than I think a lot of the the corporate woke questions. It's really a question of what is this whole movement ultimately all about? And I don't think it's, this love is love and it's about equality and tolerance. It's about deconstruction, and it's about destroying the institutions that have built this country and have built Western civilization. And a lot of us have been saying this for a while, yourself included, that at root, the ideological kind of premise of a lot of this is not, peaceful coexistence and let's find ways to, I love this way, you love that way. But no, it's now out in the open of we must destroy anyone that seeks to utter any kind of opposition or doesn't agree. All must surrender, all must bow at our altar, our new religion, and that we're going to use you and your patience and tolerance. It's not a coincidence. There's no imams of indulgence. There's no Muslim mockery here.
And moms of indulgence, yeah.
But what's
right,
so
I'd like to see that.
So sick about the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, they're going to accept a, quote, community hero award on the field at Dodger Stadium on June 16th.
Yeah, take Johnny to Chavez Ravine and say, Johnny, someday that could be you on the field.
Right. So this is a
in
recruiting
a
tool.
habit.
No,
Yeah.
this is great publicity for them. They must be so excited, this group, right?
Well, it's interesting because I've had some conversations with people that are friendly with some of the Dodgers ownership, minor, owners. And I think in a lot of these cases, and including the Dodgers, I don't think the owners like this very much. I don't think this is good for them. They certainly don't like the publicity. It's dividing their fan base. And the problem here is that the inmates are running the asylum. You have these community relations departments and marketing agencies, especially in places like L.A., but they're everywhere, made up of these, recent MBAs whose only, social experience has been, the diversity pro class they took, at woke university. And they have no concept that there's this whole, other part of the country, hundreds of millions of people that don't exactly agree with what they're trying to push on us. And so, in some ways, this is kind of an upside-down situation. And if you're an owner of a business, and this is part of the reason why we're pushing back, we want the owners of these businesses to be so shamed here that they finally begin to push back against a lot of the people that they have hired, by the way, and they're allowing to run and push them into these crazy corners of culture.
He is Brian Burch, president of Catholic Vote, CatholicVote.org. And you're, by the way, before we forget, before you leave, we should include that you're raising money to run an ad campaign about this, yes?
Oh, good.
Yes, we've announced we're going to try to raise $1 million. We're going to start running ads starting later this week, billboards, ads in Spanish, TV ads, all Dodgers-related media across Los Angeles. I want them to wake up every morning wondering if these pesky Catholics are going to go away, and we're not. This is not going to stop.
All right, very good.
Good
Brian Burch, president of CatholicVote.org. Brian, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is